All right, we're diving in to our final session. So this week has been a bit of a what I want to say, like there's like a golden thread through everything this week that's guiding us somewhere. So far, there's been a lot of energy toward the South Node. So I don't know where you're taking us tonight, but we'll see what comes up. I'm so excited because, you particularly as you studied this stuff on a different end of the spectrum before you came to the astrology world. So you're going to bring in this whole level of psychology that not all of us have had the pleasure and the length of time studying. So I'm super excited to go because I know you're going to take us into those scorpionic depths. That's just your magic. Okay, so everyone's in. Brett's here. Yes. Hello, Brett. Nice break from working. Perfect. All right. So before we dive in, I'm going to say the chat is open as per usual. If you guys want to pop thoughts, let's say questions for the end, big questions for the end, but thoughts. If something's resonating, to share it with us. We love to hear that. I'm sure Steph will, be able to see what's going on in there, but let's again, save those big questions for the end so that Steph can stay in her channel, in her, whatever the channel's supposed to come through. Let's just keep it in there and the big questions for the end. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Are you ready? I'm so excited. Now you did, it's karmic last fall. It was 2022, right?
Yeah, it was last fall.
Okay. And I'll ask you the question that I've asked everyone so far, because everyone's answer has been a little bit different, as what was the biggest discovery you had in its karmic journey with me?
Oh my gosh. I was trying to think of what I was going to say. And I know it's the Hades moon that brought us together, Vika, because I had read the Judy Hall's Hades moon, and there's not a lot of information out there. Like I was like on Reddit threads, like trying to find things. And then I found you through your writing on it. And I was like, who is this person? And its karmic class was, I think, starting in like a couple weeks, or like registration was like near the end. And I was like, okay, I can't do another thing. Like, I just can't. And then like last minute, I was like, no, I have to do this. And it was so amazing. Everything that I learned. But you know what it really was? It was you. It was your energy signature, like this big, bright Leo. Because I could have learned it like through the books or like other teachers. Well, not really, because there's not people doing exactly what you're doing. But it was just your essence. I feel like you're like the Scorpio moon whisperer. You're just,
I love that.
You just have all this bright Leo energy, and you just shine. It shines into like the crevices.
I received that with so much love. And you know what? It is my Leo moon square my Scorpio Pluto. So I'm going to take that Scorpio whisperer and just like add it to my resume.
You are like, I can't think of another person who is.
I'm taking it. So I'm so glad because, that's such a big theme throughout my work, that my big Scorpio signatures come to me and they're like, I hated my Scorpio placements until, that light was shed on it, that they're beautiful, they're magical, they're hard, they're deep, they're intense, but like those placements they're not bad the way that pop astrology even portrays Scorpio. Like I remember before I started studying astrology fully, it was always like, oh, you're a Scorpio. Like, and I'd always be like, why does everyone hate Scorpio so much? Right. So I love that resonated because you have a big Scorpio signature. And I think it's so important to fall in love with every aspect of your chart.
Yeah, I think mine is like a little different because I always had so much trouble with my Leo energy, like my Leo rising, like that's not me. Like, I mean, it is square Pluto, but one of my lines that I always say, like to myself, is a Soundgarden line, like look in California, but feeling Minnesota. Like I am not a Leo rising, but I am. So the work with you has really helped me like really go into that Leo heart space.
I love
it. I could just live in the Scorpio energy. Like that's easy.
Yeah. I feel like that's like the opposite for me, right? Like I feel like I could just like stay in my Leo forever, but I have to pull myself out of it because I cannot live there. She's dramatic. But Okay, I love this so much, and thank you for sharing that. And it was just such a pleasure to have you in there and see you go to your depths each week. So I'm so excited. I've been like extra excited for your talk because I know your chart and I know like your energy signature. I'm like, we're going so deep into the underworld tonight that
Okay.
I'm so pumped. So I'm gonna let you take the floor. Everyone, I hope you're ready to like dive into the depths, just going in.
All right. So I do have a deck because my Virgo South Node.
Love it. You
So
know, I got it.
I think
Let
I
me
need
just
to give
make
you
sure.
permission to
There you
share.
go. It should be able to share now. Yeah, the Virgo, it's always people that have like a
Uh-huh.
Virgo or a sixth house
And I got the
signature,
sixth house stellium.
right? And
So
we're
I'm not
always like,
free willing it, but yeah.
we need our slides. It's just
I
to
need
keep
my
everything on
slide.
track.
Okay. Though now I'm like, can you all see this?
Yep, you're good.
Yep.
You're
Oh,
good to go.
I just gotta get my notes here. But you cannot see my notes, right?
Nope. I can
Nope.
just see
Okay,
your
we got it.
slides.
All right. All right. So I wonder if I make this full screen if my stuff is gonna go away. Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, we'll just stick with that. So it's everyone can see it and I can see all you. Okay. So I don't think we even planned like the timing of all of this in terms of like the schedule of who would go. And I just picked Friday because it was what worked in my schedule, but watching like all the talks this week, some of them I made live, some of them on the replays, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it really was a thread. It's a thread. Like, so I feel like this talk will be kind of the culmination of what everyone has said, weaved in so beautifully. Not at all planned this way. So, healing trauma through astrology, rewriting your mythology through karmic astrology. Okay, so hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a therapist and I'm studied karmic astrology with Vika last year. And right now I'm doing therapeutic astrology readings and it's really specializing in working with women, especially women, but all parents who are reparenting themselves while, being parents, which I think is among the hardest work here in the planet right now. So I'm going to start with this quote. Can our deepest pain be our doorway to healing? So Pluto, I see Pluto as like the metaphorical therapist that we all have in our chart. He's the lord of the underworld, the psychologist, the shaman, the great destructor, the alchemist. And he rules the land of the dead, but he also rules like rebirth and transformation and fertility and that deep grounding where the roots get in. And he's here, I feel, to help us excavate what needs to be purged, like within ourselves individually and then on a collective timeline. So like as I go through the talk, just think of like Pluto, like the planet Pluto just kind of engulfing us all because Pluto is the thread. Like he's the metaphorical therapist. He's just the shaman that is in us all and around us all. And oh gosh, so and when I say Pluto, I'm also thinking of like anything in the eighth house. So if you do have any eighth house placements, any Scorpio placements and Pluto, it's all there. And with this metaphorical as, Pluto being the therapist, being your inner therapist, that wants to take you to the depths. I think it's so important that we don't go there alone. We go there with Pluto metaphorically, but we also take another healer with us there. because eighth house stuff, Pluto stuff, it's a slow burn. It's a long, slow burn. And we're not supposed to be there alone. We don't heal alone. And this stuff is like, this is our underworld. This is our trauma. This is where our pain points are. Pluto wants to take you to the depths, but he also wants you to heal and transform. And in order to do that, you need to take your time, and you need to explore down there in the crevices, like with your flashlight, like looking for the buried treasures. And that is going to take time. And I mean that for like any Pluto kind of transit, or if you're having like a transit through your eighth house that's long, like a Uranus transit through your eighth house, like it just anything, Saturn in your eighth house, Chiron going through your eighth house, or anything that's like making an aspect of any of this eighth house stuff. Like this is where the work is. And when we heal trauma, especially at first, it can be incredibly destabilizing. So we don't do it alone. Like, we do it with somebody who is trauma informed, whether that's like a trauma informed therapist or, an astrologer, another type of healer. There's so many people. And sometimes it's, it's many, many people. Sometimes we're healing in groups, but it is just stuff that we don't do alone. And so that I just really want to hone in, because this is just lifelong work that it cannot be done in isolation. And so another beautiful quote from Peter Levine, who is a trauma therapist, is trauma is not what happens to us, but it is what happens inside us in absence of an empathetic witness. So I'm thinking of like one of the first kind of some people have called it like the first psychotherapy session, is the descent of Inanna into the underworld. It's a Sumerian myth. And all through that first like mythology of going into the underworld, they're echoing back her pain. Like, I hear you. They're wailing with her, they're crying with her, they're speaking back to what she is witnessing. And I'm not going to go all into the specifics of that mythology right now, but I really encourage you all to look it up. And it's so beautiful, because that's how we heal, having our pain be echoed back to us. And that's really what the chart can do for us. So here's just some Pluto placements through the houses where, we need to get to where the chart is like, it's like this sacred roadmap, this cheat sheet to find some of the deep pain points, the deep woundings. Like, where is it? Like, we all innately know, but sometimes through trauma and pain and isolation and just like living in our society, we may feel very shut off from it, or think it's just so normalized and maybe nothing's really wrong. But when we're looking at our charts, one of the first things I think can be really like healing medicinal medicine is finding where Pluto is in your chart. So, first house Pluto, this is not exhaustive list at all. But that can be really like wounds focused on the self, like early childhood trauma, like big kind of events that might have happened in like early parts of your life that really had to do with you. Maybe they were like self-inflicted, or experiencing like extreme depression like so early in life. And there's gonna be like this constant shedding and death rebirth process that happens, that oftentimes, like as a child or going through like early adulthood, you're not at all going to know like what is happening. Second house stuff can be a lot to do with like security angst, your self-worth. Think of like safety, like I'm not safe, I need to keep all this stuff, what Vika calls like a hoarding wound. Third house could be like sibling trauma, sibling wounds, not being able like to communicate. And also I found that like third house Pluto stuff can also do a lot with like early, middle, like childhood stuff too. Fourth house is very ancestral, deep mother woundings, and just like deep courtings through like the line, like the lineage, like emotional manipulation, power struggles. I mean, all Pluto stuff is power struggles, but specifically like the fourth house, I feel like that really resonates there. The fifth house can be like a lot of boundary wounds, maybe around like your own children, and your own creative energies also. Sixth house can be like dis-ease, which can show up with woundings around like your body, maybe obsessive service, feeling like a servitude, like you must help others to your own, detriment. The seventh house can be very intense relational woundings and trauma, oftentimes with partnerships. Eighth house can be fear of death, more ancestral secrets, abuse, addictions. I also feel like that's really common themes with all of the Pluto and Scorpio generation too. So maybe like layering that on the eighth house or whatever your Pluto is. If you're Sagittarius or Libra, like layering on that house too, to give you some more clues. Ninth house, like woundings around belief systems, strict religious, that could come up. 10th house could be woundings around authority, achievement, status, like maybe father woundings around your own masculine energy. 11th house that could be karma around groups, fitting in, maybe feeling like total black sheep energy, like just ostracized in life. Lots of maybe woundings around that in school and social groups. And 12th house, lots of deep ancestral karma there, maybe feeling isolated, taking on wounds of like ancestry, I feel like, and also things that happened in the womb space. Like in utero, I feel like there's a lot of wounding around that in the 12th house. I'm like losing my slides here myself. Okay, so going back to Pluto's there, he's in the background, always kind of running, showing us where like our pain points are, but what are some other places in the chart where we can go to witness our pain, our traumas, our untold stories? Because we gotta, like, we can know it, we can know like on some level we have this wounding, but when we use like the karmic astrology, the chart, the natal chart, as this roadmap to view our woundings, I feel like we can get at it faster, but we need to sit there with it. We need to sit there with the pain, and we need to see it. We need to unearth it. So, there's the Pluto, our Pluto placement. And, the word Pluto comes from the Latin word Platon, meaning riches. So before we can get to those riches, we have to really sit in our pain with someone else. So the South Node to me is, and just very eloquently put, earlier this week, the South Node was like where we go to get stuck in jail, where our jail, which totally resonates. For me, I view the South Node as like that our inner critic, like maybe it's a voice of like a parent or something we've internalized that is so mean. It's this false self. And I'm talking about the pain points of the South Node when we're in a really low octave of the South Node. I call it like, it's the mean mommy. It's just this voice that you can never do anything good enough. Particularly for me, because my South Node is in Virgo, but I feel like there's this energetic resonance with every South Node where it's like this place that when you're in this very low octave, it's this voice that's not really you. It's this voice of like conditioning. It's it can be very ancestral too. So it's this false self, but it's layered with like these pain points of like our how we were brought up, like parents, societal woundings, and deep ancestral wounding. It's all in this like cesspit. And we can get sometimes really like quicksand stuck down in there. So that is a definite place to go to get like clues into the big pain points in your chart. And then we have like the Emanculi, the IC, where again, another really big part place in the chart to go to witness the pain. It's the place to usually in the fourth house, but it's going to be opposite of where your midheaven is. And it's just this deep womb space in our subconscious, super buried. And it's really, you know, it's kind of similar to that moon energy, but sometimes it's even more buried, even more in the crevice. And it can show like how our childhoods were, what our home life was, and more ancestral pain, more inner child wounding. So that's another place to go to that tap root. And if yours might, you know, and then you might be kind of seeing like a theme here too in your chart if you play around, like, oh, maybe I have a lot of the same things and the same sign or like the same energy. And that's just going to be kind of accentuating that energy signature for you. Also, your moon placement is a place, especially I think if it's a Hades moon, which means it's like an aspect to Pluto, is a place where, you know, we can go to see more of our traumas and our pain points. It's our unmet emotional needs. It's really like the pain of the inner child, intergenerational trauma, deep mother woundings. It's especially with, you know, really difficult moon placements. I'm thinking of like Aries, Scorpio, anything touching Pluto, though every moon sign can reveal like your unmet needs. And then of course, Chiron is going to be another big place to go. The asteroid Chiron, deep, so, you know, that's a deep old soul wound. Again, very ancestral, very old, deeply karmic. And then I also like to use asteroid karma here. And I have the number written down. And that's just more specific nuance into maybe like your particular karma that you're working on right now. Mine is in Scorpio as well, my asteroid karma. It's like right in between my moon and my Pluto. So it's just basically being like, okay, like you're really doing this. Like, yeah, so you know, that it's not always that way. But I think it's just like another great like little detail to give you more information into like what am I working on here, and that one has a more collective flavor to me versus like personal pain, but you know they're still linked. So that's where we can go to really witness our pain. And this quote, I love this quote too. It's a Maya Angelou quote, and you know there's no greater agony than an untold story. So we can go to the chart and we can see our story. Okay, so we've seen our pain. We don't want to stay there. We don't want to get stuck there. So most of us live most of our life in our pain points. So once we kind of figure this out and we're on our healing journey, it's like, okay, how do I get out of this? So some places we can go to in the chart to, you know, I know I'm still in the pain. Gosh, I'm still in the pain. I want to get out, but I have one more slide actually of places we can, no. Is this? Nope. Okay. No, we're moving on from the pain. Okay. Where where can we go to start healing from the pain and from start alchemizing? All right. So concrete places you can go to in your chart to work through the trauma and start the healing process is definitely Saturn. So Liz Green calls Saturn like the midwife, which is I think such like a beautiful, accurate description of how we can work with like that Plutonian karma and those pain points, and where we can really go to like build something in the material world. Like where are we going to do this like daily work? Um, and for example, I have Saturn in like the sixth house. So for me, it's in Capricorn. So it's gonna be like building something like slowly every single day through my habits and my health and who I surround myself with, like who my mentors are. And so Saturn can definitely give you clues into where you're supposed to do some of your karmic work in the earthly world. Sun, also your sun placement. So the sun is like who you're becoming. It's your conscious life force energy. Mine is in Capricorn. So, I'm here to become this like this steady leader who's like building a legacy. Definitely like, the sea goat energy, the climbing the mountain, but also like the tail here in the water. And, I don't feel that right now. Like, but that's my life's work to become my sun. Also more clues to working through the karma healing is again like Chiron and the asteroid karma, because Chiron's going to show you like where you can go to heal. My Chiron in Cancer is in the 12th house, so for me it's been very healing to go into like the dream realms, the unconscious, doing spiritual work to heal through working with Chiron. And then in terms of like asteroid karma, again, it's showing me like where your pain points are. Mine, for example, is in Scorpio. So that's like karma that I'm working through, but also I'm going to go there to heal. Like I'm going to need to heal this area of life, which mine is my fourth house. So I'm going to need to heal like my home, my family line, the home I'm building, my home within myself. And so it's just like repeating that back to me. All right. So it's not about like villainizing ourselves. It's, I think, really about like humanizing these pain points and giving them a voice, and then releasing them, the grip we have on them, a little by little by little. And that like reprogramming that happens, I think, slowly over time, because again, remember, like we're working with Pluto, he's still here by surrounding us. Like this is slow stuff. And it's done through bringing in more light and understanding and compassion, and knowing like through the chart, which is this beautiful tool that we have, that like you make sense. Like this is why you feel the way you feel. This is what happened. Like this is the kind of the stuff that you are working through. And ultimately, I think it's done through, like holding that inner child part of us, and then also developing that inner matriarchal wise woman energy, regardless of gender, because we all need our mother, and that's what we're all crying out for. So one of my favorite quotes, another favorite quote, I added them all in here today, is what if your broken heart was a portal to freedom? And so where are we, again, circling back to Pluto, where do we go to heal and transmute and alchemize our pain and suffering? So we kind of just transverse through the material world, like working with our Saturn placement and Sun and Chiron and some of the asteroids, which like is giving us kind of a roadmap to like, where are we going? What are we building? And but now we need to go back to like healing, alchemizing. Again, we're working with Pluto the entire time. Pluto is our inner therapist, our shaman, the medicine woman, the generational curse breaker. We're still, again, going back to that Pluto placement and like, where am I wounded? Where do I need to go? The moon. We're always going to go back to the moon because we need to tend to our moon, because those are our deepest, most emotional needs. I think that the moon is where we can really experience our soul. So really getting into those like higher octaves and like tending to the moon, like what does your moon need? Like, what do you need when you feel you're so vulnerable and so alone? Like, what do you need? And then of course, working with like our North Node placement. Because remember, like our South Node is like, when we're in the low octaves of it, is that critical voice, that false self. So it's bringing the magic that we do have in the South Node, taking that with us, and then going to that guiding star of the North Node, because our soul wants to experience that balance. And that's where we're going to find like that expansion. I mean, for example, like my North Node is in Pisces. It's in the 7th house and 8th house, depending on like what chart system I'm using. And it's like, oh, I'm supposed to go to the 8th house, more Scorpio stuff, but it's in Pisces. So it's different. It's supposed to be softer and more like flowing. The emotions are supposed to flow like in such a more easeful way. And I'm supposed to find that, they're in the depths, but also in partnerships. And I'm not supposed to get rid of my Virgo. It's all about bringing these beautiful like specks with us. And then also working with some more healing points in our chart is it's a dwarf planet, but Astra series, dwarf planet series. Such a beautiful place in your chart to see where you need to be nurtured, and where you need to be mothered, and how you mother others, and how you want to mother others, how you aspire to mother others. That is just such a beautiful like goddess mother archetype energy. Like, again, going back to that inner matriarch, that inner mother that we're trying to cultivate. Wherever your series placement is going to give you a lot of clues to what you need to work with. Again, Chiron, we're still always going to be like working with our wound. It's not going away, but we're like tending to it, and it's becoming this light for us and for others. And it's going to, evolve and really be a guide for us on our healing journeys always. And then I also think like wherever your like asteroid Hygeia placement is, or again, dwarf planet, depending who you're talking to, it's going to be like asteroid number 10 though. I think that's such a beautiful place to get some more clues into how you can heal, especially like holistically, like more cleansing medicine. It might also show you some of your pain points again, but then it's also going to be like, wow, like this is a place where this can be so healing for me to focus on this area of life, to tap into this energy. And yeah, there's a few more, but you know what? Let's just not get overwhelmed. That's enough. All right. So all that being said, astrology is really like, we really got to myth. It's like based on myth. Like it's these old myths, these myths that have been rewritten many times, re-remembered. And there's an astrologer, Divine Harmony, and she talks a lot about writing like a new mythology, which so speaks to me, because what are we really doing? Like when we're like working on ourselves, like working on our healing journeys, we're writing a new story for ourselves and for our families, for the collective. That's what we're doing. So again, going back to Pluto, Pluto is helping us with that. Pluto's placement in the chart shows where we are linked into the greater whole and how we can express the collective energies in our life. The collective is the breeding ground for myth, and myth reflects the universal truths that are part of our collective experience. To understand myth is to understand what it is to be fully human, and that's a quote from G. Hall. So we're going to go back to like, what does our high Pluto look like? Our alchemized Pluto look like? And this is these are like, this is Vika's work here. I've adapted it a little bit, but like the Pluto placements in the house, when you're doing this karmic healing, like how can your Pluto show up as this like wise therapist for you, threading through like the healing journey? What can that look like? First house can be like leadership, where no one other dare has tread, constant like rebirth, death, really being this just this powerful force that draws people in, and guides people. And second house is like finding the strength and faith in one's personal power. The third house is like that ability to share those big like Plutonian messages and communicate those messages out into the world. The fourth house is the power to survive and stand strong and create new lineages, like new lines, totally new lines. The fifth house, a creative force to be reckoned with, and establishing like boundaries with children and like lovers, partners. Sixth house, the power to heal through the physical body. Seventh, relationships becoming these healing places, instead of more like relational wounding. I think a lot of therapists have really like have Pluto in the seventh house too. Is I think also like working with clients, a lot of healers have seventh house Pluto. And eighth house, the ability to open up to new dimensions. And I feel like a lot of sexual healing as well too can be done. Again, I think that's all for Pluto and Scorpio. Ninth house, the ability to open up to new dimensions and reach beyond spiritual teachings and advancements. The 10th house, the endurance and strength to achieve for the highest good, and really lead with that like transformative Plutonian energy. And the 11th house, the ability to create constructive change. And the 12th house, that psychic, natural leader energy. So we're creating our new myths. Like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we here? I mean, none of us really know. But I think on the broadest level, though, when I really tap into it, we're all here to learn to love ourselves. And that's done through a massive lifelong undertaking. And it can, really be done in a therapeutic healing relationship. And we're here to release shame and bring in more light. And so we're here to create a new mythology. We're here to create new stories for humanity. And so we can do this like by remembering the old myths, like way back there, like tapping into that old ancient history that's stored within us. And then creating new myths. And these are just two like beautiful quotes from Divine Harmony on creating new myths. Like, this is about realizing that the stories we tell ourselves anchor into our subconscious and become the myths that lead human consciousness. Like, we need new stories. So what kind of myth do you think we need to tell for humanity to awaken? So I think we need to tell a story that liberates us and liberates everyone we touch. Like when we do this work, it just ripples out into everyone we touch. And we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to tell them that. Like it just is. It just happens. The energy just shifts. So we need to turn to our pain instead of away from it. So we give it a voice and we give it that empathetic witness that it is so craving. And then we're going to allow the pain to move through us. And this is how we ultimately bring in more light. And this is how we can heal and integrate and create those new stories. Okay, so I am sorry, I keep moving this slide around. But I keep losing my notes. Okay, so now I'm going to give a brief case study example of a personal case study example of like rewriting myths through healing karmic wounding. All right, so this chart right here is my grandma's chart and my chart. And I think the story that I'm working with rewriting is the story of like a karmic wounding family healing, like family healing, family lineage healing. And I'm really going to focus on like the Cancerian piece. So my grandma was one of my primary caregivers growing up, and you can see like her chart is on the outside and mine is on the inside. And we both share like that wounding of the Chiron and Cancer, that deep family mother wound. And and mine was in the 12th house, hers in the 10th. Her moon in Cancer is conjunct my Chiron in Cancer. So that is something like that we were working with together. And also of note is her south node in Aries is conjunct my Mars in Aries. And then one last piece I'll say for this chart is Uranus is her Uranus in Taurus is opposing my Pluto and Scorpio in the 4th house. So her Uranus in the 8th house is opposing my Pluto. So this is, to me, it's like this story. This is like my childhood. Like this is like one piece, like growing up with this caregiver. And then we go on to like me having my son and looking at what karmic woundings are we sharing? What are we healing? What are we working with? We have my Chiron in Cancer conjunct his moon in Cancer. So he's coming in too with like that signature of, that signature of really being the essence of what like I'm healing this, triggering, like his very essence of being this Cancer moon is showing my deepest soul and like, hey, like this is what we need to do. Like this is where we need to go. And then again, he has, again, like my grandmother, the Uranus generational placement in Taurus up here opposing my Pluto. So when he came in with so much light, he cracked me open with that Uranus. And then it's like, okay, here we go. Like we're working through this Cancer family, healing here. This is what we're going to do. And with rewriting and my own mythology, looking at this, I'm like the moon, like the mother, like, what does this say about me? Like, in its lowest octaves, like this can be like the 12th house moon, like a mother who's very isolated, who's lots of emotional up and downs, who's not meeting my needs, who's not caring for me. And I don't want that to be his story. I want this to be a new mythology. And this, doesn't have anything to do with, that I'm never going to be in this octave or, bypassing all this, because that's not true. But it's like, what do I want this story to be? That is not the story I want this to be. So it's about doing the work to shift these energies to the new mythology. And then one other piece of note is he has his Mercury conjunct his IC in Scorpio in the 4th house, and he's also like a Leo rising. So to me, that's like growing up in this household that is talking about this 8th house stuff. His Mercury is talking to my Pluto. And then I am that Mercury too in his chart, about, speaking about this, like speaking the truth. And then so going on, see my husband's chart here. He also has like Saturn conjunct, his Saturn is in Cancer conjunct my son's moon. So again, it's just telling us like, okay, we came in to do this work together. There's, other things in here that I won't get all into. But also looking at my husband and my grandmother's chart, which I don't have up here, their Saturns are exactly conjunct by the same degree, both in, the same degree. So again, they never met each other, but on the cosmic level, we're coming in here to continue the work. And then also, my Pluto, my husband's Pluto is also exactly conjunct my grandmother's ascendant. So it's like, again, like we're working with Pluto here through this generational line. And then also my son and my grandmother's chart, my grandmother, she died, left this earth like 23 years ago. But as we can see, like the chart still lives, like this work is still happening. And just really of note here, her series is conjunct my son's moon, or sorry, my son's son, my son's son. So she's gonna be healing through this. Like as we're doing this work, like this is healing her because it just ripples out. They have like their Uranuses are conjunct. They have all this Cancer energy going on. Her midheaven is conjunct his moon in Cancer. So again, just more like talking to us like, okay, this is what we're doing. So that's my the mythology that I'm writing. And because what if I had like a granddaughter that was a Scorpio moon? Like what is that? What do I want that to mean? Like I want that to mean like she's a lineage healer, she's a memory keeper. I think all Scorpio moons are, not just Scorpio moons, obviously, but especially anyone with a Scorpio moon or Hades moon. What if, in 50 years, we saw someone with a Hades moon? Well, what do we want to say to that? Like, I want that to be like someone who was meant to remember the ancestors, to tend to the ancestors, to listen to them, someone who was meant to, remember their magic and not their pain. It's really releasing those pain points. Just putting this zoom down, it's like taking over. All right. So Karmic astrology is really like the sacred roadmap to this stuff, guys. Like, we can refer to it every time we feel like we're lost or stuck, because really, like, trauma, it's not what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you without like that empathetic witness. And what is inside of you are the cosmos, and the cosmos tell your story. Like they can help you unlock the keys, the pieces that you need to alchemize this pain. So yeah, I mean, I think I'll just leave you with like, what do you want your new mythology to look like? Because your story, it's really waiting inside of you, waiting to be unlocked. And that's, I think, it.
I love it so much. I have so many notes. Just like quote. Okay, so I love that, like, you've given us so many places to look, and everyone, I encourage you to follow the one that calls to you, right? Because I don't think people, I know everyone in here understands this, but people don't realize that it is a 1,000,000 point system, and you could study your chart forever and still find new things. So like follow the ones that feel exciting, or the ones where, when Steph was talking, the ones where you were like, ooh, like that gave me a little like bubble in my tummy. There's always something that you follow and you go in. But what I love that you really like, the umbrella of this conversation is something I definitely am really passionate about, is, rewriting the way we look at astrology. And like, we'll use the Hades moon as an example here, because, when I started first learning about the Hades moon before Judy Hall, it was very much like a negative thing to have a Hades moon. It was the end of the world. You were going to be, horrible relationships with your mother, and you were going to be an emotional basket case, and all these things, where it doesn't have to be that. So I love the idea that we're rewriting what the world has told us about our astrology, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm going to get you to unshare here.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
So I love this. It's like so freaking much, like just like rewriting the story. We're writing our story. And that's what we get to do with the roadmap, right? Is like, how are we going to rewrite it? Okay. Let's see all the things I wrote down here. The Pluto conversation, I feel, is going to be really potent for everybody in here, looking into like that depth. And I've been describing it a lot lately as an excavator too. So when you said that, I was like, like it's an excavator, right? That we're getting the gold from. We're diving into the gold there and transmuting it. And like you said, rewriting what the story is. And something else I love that you said was that the chart lives on. I was in a session recently. What was I? Oh, I was doing in a biofield tuning session. I'm dropping a podcast about it next week. And she was working with tuning forks virtually. And she was like tapping into my, my Oma, which is my grandmother. And she was working through this stuff. And in the middle of the session, she's like, I can feel her receiving this in spirit. And I just started bawling, like, because the chart lives on, their energy lives on. We heal them through exactly what you've presented today.
Yeah. And I actually had like tried to get my grandmother's birth time for years. And I think it only came in, like my dad somehow found it in a box, like at like the exact time I was supposed to get it. And then I, of course, studied her chart, but it there's like certain transits happening those days. And it's just it's you don't need to have that information. We're all getting the healing regardless. Yeah.
Agree completely. Oh my gosh. Okay. We have time for like 1 or 2 questions. Does anyone have any questions for the amount of magic that was just presented? Okay, we've got a question already. Yes, amazing. Okay, Gina, is the Hades moon any aspect between the moon and Pluto? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say to that one, the way Judy Hall describes it in her book, and I agree with it very much just based on how I've been studying, and you're welcome to chime in on this, is like the softer aspects, the gentler aspects are more presented as being ready to work through that karma, whereas the harder aspects might be a little more resistant to it, especially in early life. Now I have a square. And then yours conjunct, or it's just in Scorpio, but they're separate, but either way it's in Scorpio, right? Okay. Yeah. So it's in Scorpio. So, for me, that work took a long time, like 23, 24 years to be ready to work on, personally with my mom. Was it similar with yours?
Yeah, definitely not something that I was ready to do.
Okay. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Love it. Okay. Mine's a trine. So it might be that you're more receptive to the healing than say a square or a moon in Scorpio, but that's not always the case as well. There's so many other factors that can come into that one. I hope that helps. Does anyone else have a final question for Stephanie today? We're feeling good. Good. Okay. What would you leave us off with? Oh, okay. No question, but Lots to work on. Brett says, I have 7 aspects to Pluto. Lots to work on, question mark.
I just feel like Pluto is probably speaking to you a lot. And yeah, I think those would, I mean, I'd have to see your chart, but those are probably repeating themes, right? It's just more communication, like, hey, look here. Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree in my own chart. I think Pluto aspects almost everything. And then, it is a big signature, and it's the same as like Pluto is just really looking to talk and reveal. Yeah. Okay. So I love this so much. This is so friggin' juicy, and like the amount of gold nuggets, like someone who said they're so excited to watch the replay because there was so much to absorb it. Yes. Okay, Brett, can't wait to watch the replay so I can make sure I absorb all of it. Ditto. There was so much gold here. In all of this, what would you leave everyone off with today as maybe like a great place to first start digging in?
I think it's your Pluto placement, and then the probably the Pluto and Moon.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems to be like the theme. It's like South Node for some other stuff, but the Pluto, Moon, South Node theme seems to be interwoven this week.
Yeah. And for sure, South Node. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that about the moon. Like, and that's how I feel exactly too, is if we don't nurture our moon, then we're not going to feel whole or safe or cared for to do this work. And let me leave off with the fact that you started with, don't go in there alone, because you don't have to, right? Like it's not a fun place, but there's so much healing. But take a guide with you. That's what they're for, right? You wouldn't go on a shamanic journey without a shaman.
And that's what this is. It is.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you mentioned that so much. So for everyone, the replay will be up. I feel like this is one I'm going to have to watch a few times to just like absorb all the gold inside of it, which is the Pluto right there, the gold, the magic. Do you have anything you want to leave everyone off with today? Any thoughts?
I did pull a card for all of us, and it's the threshold. Yeah. So we cross thresholds continually, consciously and unconsciously. Doorways, gates, and entryways grace our path on a daily basis. When this card arises, it signifies that the precipice you stand upon is not your typical one. However, you have arrived at a threshold of initiation, here to usher you into a new reality. It requires you to leave behind the you that you thought was so well formed. A new frontier calls. This is not easy work. The threshold initiation means a part of you will be lost in order to make space for what is next. A metaphorical death must occur. Some may not recognize you. You may struggle to recognize yourself. The ground seems to crumble as you free fall into your new reality. This is the liminal realm. One step, dear friend, just take that necessary step towards the future that calls you.
If you could pull a more Plutonian card,
I
don't know what it is.
That's Pluto.
That's Pluto. That's Pluto. So Pluto is our threshold. We're all ending this day at a threshold. You can walk through, you cannot walk through. Pluto might push you through. But I think we're all walking through that. Yeah. Thank you for your energy, your knowledge, your wisdom, everything you've accumulated over the many years you've studied everything to this point. Thank you for sharing your magic with us today.
Thank you so much, Vika. This was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for being our closing presenter to usher us through that threshold. Oh my gosh. And thank you to everyone who came and shared their energy and sat in live with us. And I can't wait. I'll put these are going to live on YouTube. I've decided that the talks are so good that they need to live there for everyone who was like me, looking into karmic astrology and being like, there's nothing here. So these are going to live officially on YouTube. And before we hop off, before I forget, where can they find you? Instagram, where's your stuff they can find you?
So it's mysticaltherapist.com and the mystical therapist on Instagram.
Perfect. And I'll link that in the email and in the YouTube show notes so that everyone can find you and find your magic and work with you and go deeper with you on this magical ride. So thank you guys so much. And I hope everyone takes that step across the threshold. Okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Stephanie. So much love for you all. Bye, my loves.